Dear students, I welcome you all in my lecture series on digital signal processing, and this is lecture 3 of this series. In this lecture I will explain you the various representation of discrete time signals and some classes of discrete time signal and some elementary discrete time signal and some fundamental operations performed on discrete time signals like folding, time shifting, and addition of two or more discrete time signals, subtraction of two or more discrete time signals, and multiplication performed on two or more discrete time signals. So just to start with, a discrete time signal may be inherently generated or it may be derived from an analog signal through which, by the process of sampling, we can obtain the discrete time version of the signal, and then by further quantizing this discrete time version of the signal we can make it digital, and after making it digital we may encode it in binary or we may offer some other form of coding. So let us draw a discrete time signal. Suppose this is a typical discrete time signal. The x-axis of this represents an integer value n, and y-axis shows the strength at a particular n. So just for illustration, I am drawing the signal with different color, say with red color. And so on. Suppose the signal strength at this moment it is say 2.5. The signal strength over here is say 2. Here it is 1. Here the signal strength is -1. Here itself it is -1, and here it is 2.5. Well, the signal that occur at this index n, integer value n, is said to be generated at origin, and this is said to be generated at the very first sample, then second, third, and so on. This is said to be generated at time index -1, -2, and so on. So this is one of the way to represent discrete time signal, and this is called graphical representation of discrete time signal. DT here stands for a discrete time signal. Here, as you are looking, that this time index or integer index can range up to infinity, and here it can range up to -infinity. So we can say that n ranges between -infinity to infinity. There are other form of representations also which are very often used and very popular. So the other form is functional representation. Functional representation. In this form of representation, we represent a signal xn in the form of function. Suppose xn takes on value say 2 when n equals to say 1 and say 3, and it takes on value say -3 for n equals to 2, and it takes on value 0 for any other n. So this is also one of the popular form to represent signal, and if we wish to draw the graphical equivalent of this, we can very easily draw the graphical equivalent. You simply put the integer index, that is n, at the x-axis. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. This is -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on, and this you can say that this is xn. So what this representation says, that at 1 the signal strength is, at n equal to 1 the signal strength is 2. Say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3 and so on, and here it is -1, -2 and -3. So it is having, it will show a stem of strength 2 at n equal to 1. Then at n equal to 3, once again it will show a stem of strength 2, and for n equal to 2 it will show a stem of strength -3, and at any other n, means at all other n, it is showing value 0. So you can swap between one kind of representation to another kind of representation. If one form is given to you, you can draw or you can trace other form for your convenience. So another popular form of representation is tabular representation. Tabular form of representation. Suppose I wish to represent some signal for which I am making a table of n and xn. This is very simple. We simply write down the n values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and here it is -1, -2, -3 and so on, and we simply put the strength value just below the integer value. So this is say 1, 2, -3, 4, -2, 0, 0, 0. So this is one way to represent the signal. This is called tabular representation, and the most popular form or very often used form is sequence representation. In sequence representation, we represent signals in the form of sequences, and sequences can be represented like, say, xn equals to these ellipses shows the beginning of the signal in past 0, -1, and say it is 2, 3, -2 and so on. Suppose the signal originates from here. When I am saying that signal originates from here, I represent it through an arrow like this. The arrow pointing at this sample says that this is time index or integer index n equal to 0. This kind of signal is called infinite duration signal. Another form of infinite duration signal is, suppose, a left sided signal or a right sided signal. Suppose we have a signal x to n which can be represented like this. Suppose this is -3, 2, 1, 3. This is origin, you can say, and this is 2, -1, and then rest of the signals which is at the right side of this is 0. So this kind of signal is called left sided signal, because the signal value exists only at the left hand side of certain capital N. This axis represents the general N, and this particular value, before this we find some signal strength, and after this we don't find any signal strength. Our signal strength is 0. So this kind of signal is called left sided signal or sequence. Graphically they can be represented like this, not particularly this signal, but I am showing a general left sided signal like this. So this is a general left sided signal. This is N, and this particular N, before which we found some signal strength, and just at the right hand side of this we get no signal strength. This is called left sided signal. Similarly, we can have a right sided signal. Suppose we have an x3n which is represented in sequence form like this. Suppose -2, 1, 6, 4, and 7, -3, and so on up to infinity. We have signal strength, and suppose signal starts from here. This kind of signal is called right sided signal, because it is endless at the right hand side of some sample value, say n. So right sided signal can be drawn like this. This is a kind of right sided signal. Means signal strength is 0, xn is 0 for n less than some capital N, and here the signal strength is 0 for n greater than some capital N. So then we have, these were the infinite duration signals, the signals that we have discussed in these sequence representation. They are infinite duration signal. All the signals comes under the category of infinite duration signal. There is another class which comes under the category of finite duration signal. So a finite duration signal can be represented in sequence form as, say, this is a signal whose origin sample is having strength 2, and before origin sample the strength are shown over here. This means at n equal to -1 the strength is this, at n equal to -2 the strength is this, and this way. But what you are looking that this signal is finite duration. This means it has some beginning and some fixed end point. But this is both sided finite duration signal. We may have a signal, finite duration signal, which is 0, xn equal to 0 for n is less than 0. This is also a kind of finite duration signal. Suppose we have a signal like this, 2 4 minus 6 like this, and this is the origin. So this is, you can say that, right sided finite duration signal. Now I'll explain you some elementary discrete time signals. Some elementary discrete time signals. The very first one, which is having a great significance, this signal is having a great significance in signal processing and signal analysis, or sometimes signal synthesis also, is unit sample sequence. Or this is also called unit impulse. So this signal is represented in functional form as delta n equal to 1 for n equals to 0, and it is 0 for n not equal to 0, or any other n except n equal to 0. So if you represent it graphically, naturally this signal is shown something like this. If you see it by a different color, this signal, this is delta n and this is n. So this is having strength unity at n equal to 0. At any other n, it is having strength 0. In future you will see that any arbitrary signal can be represented as the weighted sum of the shifted impulses, and this is the main beauty of this unit sample sequence or unit impulse, that anything can be decomposed into form of a unit impulse, and this is a very elementary signal. Then the next signal of great significance is the unit step signal. This unit step signal is defined as un. In functional form it may be defined as un equal to 1 for n is greater or equal to 0, and it is 0 for n is less than 0. So if you plot the graphical representation of this signal, you will see that this signal can be represented like this. This is n and this is un, and at n less than 0 it is having value 0. As we have seen that this was the impulse signal. If suppose somehow we shift the impulse by 1 unit of time, and then I shift the impulse by 2 unit of time, and I shift the impulse by 3 unit of time, and so on. And if you simply imagine at this point of time that if I add up all these impulses, what I will obtain is the unit step signal. This means unit step signal itself, it can be decomposed in the form of impulses, shifted impulses, as it is apparent from here, or if we wish to synthesize a unit step signal using impulses, so this way if we add up the shifted unit impulse, we can realize unit step signal. So this is very simple to observe over here. Then the third signal of significance in our discrete time signal is unit ramp signal. So this unit ramp signal, it is mathematically defined as URN. This is having value n for n greater or equal to 0, and it is having value 0 for n less than 0. So you can very easily draw this signal, you can very easily represent this signal graphically. This is n and this is URN, or sometimes it is also represented as Rn. So putting the value of n, you can observe the strength of the signal. N equal to 0, strength is 0, n equal to 1, strength is 1, n equal to 2, strength is 2, and so on. You can get the linearly growing stems like this. So you can draw a ramp signal like this. This ramp signal can also be decomposed in the form of impulses, weighted impulses, or this ramp signal can also be realized. Later on you will see that this signal can also be realized using unit step signal. We will do some mathematical manipulation, we will do some operation on unit step signal, and this way we can realize this ramp signal. We will see in the latter part of the lecture that how they can be realized. Then the fourth signal of significance or interest of our discussion is exponential signal. An exponential sequence can be defined mathematically as xn equals to a to the power n for all the value of n. So suppose if a is a real parameter, then xn is a real signal, but since a is a real parameter, it can attain many possible values. So we will make 4 different classes of values which a can attain. Out of those 4 classes, the very first class is the situation in which a is less than 1 but greater than 0. Just for the imagination, suppose a is equal to 0.9. A attains a value which is 0.9. Then how the signal will look like? If you simply imagine, the very first sample will have strength 1, and then 0.9, then 0.81, and this way this signal will look like this. But suppose if the a attains a value greater than 1, then what will be the shape of the signal? Naturally, just for an instance, you imagine a to be equal to say 1.1. So the very first sample will be 1, then next is 1.1, and then growing this way, exponentially growing a sequence. Then if you imagine a to be equal to, a can range in negative values also. This means a can have value less than 0 but greater than -1. Say it is minus 0.9. Then what will be the shape of the signal? You see, the very first sample minus 0.9 to the power 0 is 1. Okay. Then minus 0.9, then 0.81 plus, then negative, and this way an alteration of positive and negative impulses like this. And if suppose a is having value say less than -1, just for an instance you can imagine that this is -1.2, and then you can draw, you will obtain that this is the very first sample is 1, then -1.2, then square of this, then so this is exponentially growing signal having amplitude both positive and negative like this. So I wish to show you the exact drawing of these signals in different situation. Here this is the drawing when A is less than 1 but greater than 0, decaying. A is greater than 1, growing. A is ranging between 0 and -1, then it is decaying but alternating its strength both positive and negative. And if A is less than -1, it is growing but alternating its strength both positive and negative. This can be very easily seen from this graph. Now this is the situation when A is a real value. Suppose if the parameter A is a complex valued, if suppose parameter A is a complex value, then naturally this A will take the form A will be equal to R e to the power j theta, and in this situation this can be written as R, rather xn can be written as Rn e to the power j theta n, and this will be equal to Rn cos theta n plus j sin theta n. Naturally this will have the form Rn cos theta n plus Rn jRn sin theta n. This xn, this can also be represented as x real part of n plus x imaginary part of n, x imaginary part of n, x real part of n and x imaginary part of n. So naturally the real part of n is equivalent to x Rn is equivalent to R to the power n cos theta n, and imaginary part of n equal to R to the power n cos theta n. So we can draw this signal also. If R takes the value less than 1, then suppose R equals to say 0.9, and for theta equal to say pi by 10, we can draw this signal for different value of n, and this imaginary part also in the same way for putting different value of n. We observe that the signal is something like this. I am tracing an approximate signal. I will show you the exact signal. Like this. Well, and this is sin theta n, Rn sin theta n, and this sin theta n can be drawn like this. And it will decay, this sin theta part will also decay because of this Rn term. So the exact drawing, I'll show you the exact drawing for this. You can see that this part represent the real part of the signal, that is x Rn 0.9 to the power n cos pi by 10, cos pi multiplied by n by 10. So you see that how this graph is obtained, putting the different value, say n equal to 0, so cos 0 is 1, okay, and this 0.9 to the power 0 is 1, so the very first strength is 1, and then second strength, third, likewise you can draw for all these strengths. And similarly, to obtain the plot for imaginary part of the signal, you can plot this imaginary part like this. 0.9 to the power n sine pi by 10 n, like this. So this way you can draw this signal, which is called an exponential signal. We have a very applied signal in the discrete time signals, very useful signal, which is known as discrete time sinusoid. A discrete time sinusoidal signal. So let us discuss the discrete time sinusoidal signal. A discrete time sinusoidal signal can be written as xn equals to a cos omega n plus theta, where n is ranging from infinity to minus infinity. Here a is the amplitude of the sinusoid, amplitude. Omega is the frequency in radian per sample. And n, as you are looking that integer, n is integer variable. Which is representative of time as it was in analog signals, integer variable. And theta is the phase in radians. Theta is the phase in radians. Now if you represent it in the form of frequency, so naturally at the place of omega we have to put omega equals to twice pi f. So xn can be represented as a cos twice pi f n plus theta. Here f has the dimension of cycles per sample and it is called frequency, cycles per sample. So this is the discrete time sinusoid. Here I wish to see that what is the condition for a discrete time sinusoid to be a periodic signal. So for any signal to be periodic, if the same xn is found after some samples, the same signal xn is found, then we say that the signal is periodic. This is for all value of n. So if we apply this definition for this sinusoidal signal, what we will obtain, that this can be periodic only if a cos twice pi, suppose the fundamental period is f0, n plus theta equals to a cos twice pi f0 n plus theta. And this relation exists if and only if this twice pi f0 n equals to twice k pi. This means it is multiple of integer multiple of twice pi. If it is integer multiple of twice pi, then only this condition happens true. What does it indicates? That f0 equals to k by n, where k is also an integer, n is also an integer. So this is division of integer by integer, and this division is done until we get these two numbers in the form of co-prime numbers. When they become co-prime number, then we say that this n is the fundamental period of the discrete time signal. So students, we have discussed many signals in this class, including sinusoidal signal, unit impulse signal, unit step signal, ramp signal, exponential signal. In the next class we will discuss simple operations like time shifting, folding, and various other operations on these signals. So let us stop over here. Thanks for viewing this lecture. Thank you.